What is up, guys? Rick Hackus here, and I wanted to talk to you about something extremely important and will completely change the Destiny landscape. Now, this is to do with the Taken King, the Mega DLC coming out soon. Now, this is a quote. Now, this is from Game Informer, and this is quoting Bungie themselves. They have said, older legendary armor and weapons from across Destiny's first year are not set to progress in power as year 2 begins. So this is a massive piece of information, and again, this will impact how pretty much everyone plays and views the game until the Taken King launches. And that is that all of your legendary gear, so everything non-exotic, will not get better as soon as the level increases to 40 when the Taken King drops. Now, before I begin, I really wanted to say that I don't want you guys to view this as something that I'm just constantly complaining about the Taken King. I am insanely excited for the Taken King. 12 plus new exotic weapons, completely remaking the quest system, having prototypes that you can get from the gunsmith and then use those prototypes and complete quests, having weekly quests that doing all of them unlock a mega quest that can reward exotics and new legendaries. Oh my goodness, there is so many things about the Taken King that are unbelievable, and I'm so glad. Some of the stuff I'm reading, I'm like, wow, like, you had me sold with the last thing I just heard about the Taken King. Bungie, you have really surpassed yourself with what you are doing here. So I just want to say that to you guys that the Taken King as a whole and as a DLC looks to be an insane improvement, a massive improvement for Destiny. But this is still an unbelievably important issue that I feel that I want to start a conversation about this. I'm not just gonna rant, I want to start a conversation because I believe everyone in Destiny, this should be one of the main topics on their mind, because again, this will completely change the landscape of the entire game. Now, interestingly enough, it seems that Bungie has taken this step, and right out of the gate, you're going to think that it's going to be negative. And I kind of think that as well. Why would Bungie do this? Bungie did already do this for the Dark Below. They had it so that only the new gear in the Dark Below was able to get you to 32. And they absolutely got panned. Not just from me, not just on the forums, but full-fledged gaming outlets like IGN, and I think even Game Informer, were doing articles saying Bungie's new expansion leaves older players in the dust. And it was true. The players who really grinded to get the best gear, like they had all the way up to level 30. Most players, the majority of players, were not level 30 when the Dark Below came out. So you have a minority of players that have really put a ton of time into the game and grinded to get the best possible gear. And they were really the most left behind because it didn't matter what gear you had before, you were just at a mad dash to get the new gear because that was the only gear that could progress you to the new level cap of 32. Again, Bungie got completely panned for doing this. All of this emphasis on loot and making this loot so special, all of this cool, purposely designed Vault of Glass gear was worse than stuff you could buy from vendors. And again, this was universally, almost universally considered by the Destiny community as a bad thing. Why would you want us to completely forsake the loot we've spent so much time getting, Bungie? Now, Bungie then listened to its fans and fixed this for the House of Wolves. We all know that when the House of Wolves came out, you can now get Etheric Light and upgrade any piece of armor to 34. This was awesome, and I had a lot of fun, and it was legitimately challenging picking which armor pieces you wanted to level up. It really actually did feel like, okay, I am truly customizing my Guardian. Like, for example, I would have some of the Crotozan raid gear, and then I actually had some Vault of Glass gear that I decided to ascend because it had better stats, or I liked its perks better, etc. So again, this really gave a lot of power back to the players, and was universally considered by the community as a positive thing. They said, good job, Bungie, you have fixed your mistake from the Dark Below by doing this whole Etheric Light thing. Now we can completely customize our characters and our gear is not worthless. Bravo, Bungie. So then, why the heck would they completely go back on their progress and go back to what they did in the Dark Below, completely discounting older legendary armor and weapons? This seems like a lose-lose for Bungie. Now, in Bungie's defense, one of the issues could simply be that they feel like they've completely revamped the loot system. And in fairness to them, it seems like they have. The different foundries that make weapons similar to the companies in Borderlands have completely changed the landscape of weapons. Like, there's so many different of the factions of weapons. It really seems insane, and Bungie might just be saying, look, the weapon system before was a little broken. We were copying and pasting weapons all the time. We've completely redone the weapon system, so the old legendaries aren't continuing forward because frankly they don't fit in with the new weapon system. Now, frankly, most people are not going to be too impressed by that argument, and that includes myself. It's really unfortunate that all of the gear that we have worked endless hours for, like, we all know that Destiny is a bit of a grind fest, and we have grinded for certain weapons. People, you know, I'm sure you guys have stories of how you stayed up late just doing Crow's End again and again and again, just so you could finally get, for example, the Black Hammer, and then your friends were freaking out, and it was so awesome. And now it's useless, because weapons like the Black Hammer, now forget the Black Hammer nerf, that's a completely different story, but weapons like the Hunger of Crota and the Black Hammer and the Fatebringer and the Praetorian Foil and all that stuff, those are, you know, very at home in PvE. You can still, even though these weapons won't upgrade in power, you can still bring them into the Crucible and still use them in the Crucible, so there is that factor. However, completely discounting your older legendary weapons from PvE play is just so disappointing. It really makes it seem that all of the hard work we have done to get these weapons to build our Guardians to what they are today is useless. And it doesn't help that Bungie has a terrible track record for looking after its older players. This is still fresh off the heels of the whole Luke Smith debacle, saying that we would throw money on the screen. Now, that's been explained and it's been somewhat fixed. I mean, charging $20 the price of an expansion for some emotes is still pretty bloody ridiculous to me, but people seem to have accepted it. Now, a lot of players, guys, a lot of players are simply going to view this as Bungie saying to them, okay, so you've been with us since the alpha, that's cool, you worked really hard, we're, you know, one of the first teams to beat the Vault of Glass and completely pimp out your character with Vault of Glass armor, that's cool, that's cool. And then you did Crota's End, you got through the Abyss before any of the guides came out, you got all the sweet Crota's End gear, that's cool, it's all useless now. Alright. Have a good time. Taken King's coming out. Hope you enjoy it. It really does seem like a huge slap in the face to the players that have stuck with Destiny from the very beginning. They are literally the ones with the most to lose. I really wish Bungie had gone about this a different way. And you know what? There is still hope. Look at the Dark Below. We all thought, you know, we're just screwed. Vault of Glass gear is useless. And then for the House of Wolves, they fixed it. Introducing Etheric Light, fixed it. So I would say, don't delete everything. Hold on to your favorite legendary gear, because hopefully we can pressure Bungie into introducing some sort of new material that we can upgrade our old gear. Because, you know, old gear, it has value. This isn't some shitty piece of gear. I have stories, I have moments and memories that go with this gear, that are tied to this gear. I fucking remember my Fatebringer drop. I know every single person I was playing with when I got the Fatebringer. That's how special it is to me. It was a moment in time. It was such a good memory of Destiny. And now that's gone, that I might as well just delete my Fatebringer. That's not appropriate, Bungie. That is not what we want as players. We want to feel valued. We want our work to still count for something. So if you can't do it in the Taken King, I understand. But please, in a later update, in a later DLC, and please communicate with us that you're doing this. Fix this. Introduce Etheric Light 2.0 in the first expansion coming out right after the Taken King, but please don't make all of our legendary gear worthless. And if you agree with that, I urge you to rate and especially share this video to get Bungie's attention. That's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Doing so will let you see Destiny content similar to this. My Twitch channel and Twitter are both linked in the description of this video. So check out my Twitter if you want to get in touch with me, and check out my Twitch if you want to see my ramblings live. Again, I hope you enjoy, and as always, have a good day.